now it's finally time. I'm with the remaining 7 episodes now having aired of the first season, most likely the series. I'll address that as I go on. My fourth Earth vlog, and most likely my last one of Thundercats Roar, which I'll be talking about the finale and how I was hoping that things would improve from the initial wave of episodes, but instead it just got worse over time, and the quality just seemed to degrade further and further with each passing episode. So let's get right to it and get this over with. Picking up where we left off, Summer Fun Day. I can definitely tell this was made in a pre-pandemic environment. I mean, depicting in the cats going to the beach, trying to get a break from fighting, a plan which is undermined by crab people, or which are too much people but not really enough crab. I mean, as opposed to the crab people that normally would be antagonizing them. Figuratively speaking, of course. I mean, and I don't really understand why they can't do this. As with the getting sand kicked in their faces, and Tiger having like a very rough massage, or when the suntan lotion getting rubbed in, and it's just a mess. And overall, it's a beach episode, which is honestly worse than Swimmer's Ear. And given how that's not much fun to have, just let that set the stage for the remainder of the episodes I've got on the table. Yeah. Safari Joe, episode 22. And apparently this was another character that was in some of the previous incarnations, but has once again been highly nerfed for this version. I'll definitely be addressing that in the next episode as well. But I somehow don't think that Chitara would add this petty again over for someone who probably wouldn't even be good enough to be in my old Mousetrap game. He'd be more like the old man and that dives in the bathroom and never could stay up, but still. Oh, and even when the burbles don't mind what she had, that she actually read her phone, and also the selfie stick was a dated reference even before this episode aired, man. Alright, so, and that's definitely the case when, and even the Rocco movie pointed out how awkward that was, given how the characters are based in a time warp. I mean, and which is part of the whole humor of that movie on Netflix. So there's that. And the animation is still really jank, unfortunately. I mean, they never really did nail down how things are supposed to work. I mean, I actually don't mind the kitty faces that much, but I just gotta point out how the facial expressions seem really awkward most of the time. I'm like how they basically took this same face and gave it to the bulk of the main cast. I mean, I can tell Wiley Kid and Guitar apart because, they're girls, but still, when I've seen characters in South Park that look more bespoke than this, I think you've clearly done something wrong. And as for that end slate, like, Safari Joe will return, probably. maybe not. I'll definitely be addressing that as I continue. Now, nerfed for the new 20s is episode 23, where Taro, who they set up in the previous versions, was about the sort of plunder, which, again, Jaga was actually responsible for in this version, wrecking the planet. I guess maybe if it was to appease Xenu by tossing into a volcano. Oh, and and but and also involves the cats that's stinking around at a carnival. I mean, apparently putting on weight through all the rich carnival foods and their attractions. And no, I don't know why the burbles are also acting as carnies in this version. And and so those cards and narration at the very beginning, you could have actually used those to explain how this worked. I mean, and even with people saying like, oh, similar shows use the exact same way with the cards. The main difference is because those cards were a vital part of the world and the main character's arc as well. I mean, here, as I'm about to get into detail on how this is causing problems, a lot of the continuity is pretty nebulous at best, and the world building is definitely not all that well constructed. I mean, especially how Rataro isn't that much more of a threat than Mumra or the mutants are. I mean, as a whole, I mean, only because the cats are kind of bloated from all the carnival foods, and they still manage to eject the sort of plunder into space and crash his ship back on the planet. I mean, and it's so. What was the point of this again? And I really don't know what they're trying to accomplish here. I mean, people are trying to argue what lessons they're trying to teach, but again, I reply, what lessons? I really don't think there's any major messaging to speak of at all. I mean, also, especially given how they don't really establish much or anything, which also continue again into the next episode I'm covering in this vlog and ramble. Yeah. Episode 24, Prince Starling's Quest, and apparently I'm not sure if the microcrits were a part of the original series. I'm still rewatching that again. And again, I submit the nostalgic defense is hence not really a valid one, and which I'll get into more in the course of this video and explain the situation, and which will be key to realize this. Given how apparently Lionel is mucking up a village of some little people without even realizing it, but they don't really fully internalize that. Just the whole episode again seems like a poor man's version of Adventure Time's Donnie, with the house people. And so highlights another issue because even though they don't really explain a whole lot about the world, there's always some sound playing. Like there's always people talking, shouting, yelling, always music or some noise being made. Like in an age where oftentimes there can be entire episodes or at least significant structures of episodes conveyed like spoken dialogue. I mean, with one episode of Adventure Time that's sort of even titled Shh, there is never a single quiet moment for the atmosphere to build for the jokes to land more effectively. I mean, whether or not the pacing is glacial or moving so fast I could get whiplash just sitting here, it honestly feels like you are trying to who just shunt the idea that quiet can be used to build atmosphere out the window. Long story short, the prince consumes some flowers that make him grow bigger, which make him normal size to Lion-O, who I remind you is still less of the character he was before, more of a bit of a dunderhead, man. And also, but he and Lion himself consumes the flowers and ejects the prince who's gone out of the power. Maybe he found the max mushrooms. I don't know. Oh, this continues to get more and more inane and more of a failure, which will definitely continue here. Yes. Okay. Episode 25, Lioness. Furthering how inconsistent Jitaro's viral videos are, to which she's using Snarf as a camera, even though she previously just did it on her mobile 4, or which we spawned in a later episode, even though she broke it before, by verbal self-defense. Another Thunderian called Lioness, who has short hair and a pink sword. And again, we get the return of Snarf on the fart bike, which again makes me wonder if someone had gotten into my Dr. Pepper with cream soda and put something into it that I didn't know about. That's good. They hadn't, thankfully. The show is just weird, but unfortunately, not in a good way either. And it's a shame, because even with the cats getting briefly indicted by Mandor, I mean, as in a split second, and there is a show that came out fairly recently that does show that you can make one about a cat want to become a hero and still have it be appealing with action and characterization. As I mentioned before, it's called Mao Mao Heroes of Pure Heart, which has been better received, which also another show has a weird setting and art direction. But the main difference is that the weirdness of it all is intentionally used for both humor and the action. So the main difference is that the animation there done by Animation House Titmouse is actually good, and the character design isn't messier than something that the cat left in my old place, man. They can make entire episodes about the Tokyo's former partner, a corgi, and somehow make it work, and wordplay based on another one, Badger Clops' former partner, Tanya Keys, a Tanuki. See what they did there? And also even how he's a cobbler fiend, which has also clashed with his heroism. I cannot tell you how many cobbler fiends I met in my life, but yeah. So what was meant as the next big wave of cat fandom has instead become very much like Ninja Turtles Next Mutation, something that solely tests the patience of the fans of source material, and it hasn't really attracted that many new fans either. It's a major red flag when they're not really advertising that much. I only can count one day where they aired it outside the usual Saturday time slots, which is contrast with how other shows have gotten their wheelhouse like Teen Titans Go, Vigilante Valentino, Gumball, and the Mama one just mentioned have aired on Sundays and weekdays as well, so there's that. episode 26. X is another example of this. Snurf Stay Off. I mean, and even with some people suggesting that's maybe the best version of Snurf, I think it's safe to say that sentiment, even those who just don't like other versions of the character, is not widely shared. And then I even point out for warts and all in the original version, again, I point out he meant well. Oh, I mean, if I'm being totally honest, it's no worse than other characters of the ilk like Wheelie in the original Transformers or Orgo and Never to You. But the fact that he's apparently masquerading as a regular cat when the other ones are trying to find the Wollo's lost donkey. My first question is, how exactly do you screw up Snarf? I mean, just how? Well, apparently another character who's just selling kitten calendars at a local market, and Mumra for some reason is posing as an old hillbilly. Like, I mean, I just, at the very least, when Jim Carrey's Eggman was ham boning like that, there's purpose for that sense. Because that's the whole thing, especially crucial in comedy material, where about not wasting scenes and giving the jokes and scenes purpose. I mean, I definitely adhere to believe that everything should suit the story, or especially in the jokes. I mean, but this doesn't really come off that way. Which is a shame, because part of the reason I've been doing the Sun and Moon vlogs to show how the humor of the series actually does fit the setting relatively well, and I'm not saying that it's totally impossible to do this well. No, and even though there wasn't like there wasn't any comedic potential in the premise at all, but it definitely falls into the whole idea of bad execution. And while Jeremy has been trying to rather vocally defend the show, Vic has kind of taken a lot of the criticism and strive, even though he admits not a whole lot can do, given how it's already pretty deep in the production by the time and the uproar hit. And apparently the old lady that Starfish was also secretly a Valkyrie. But even so, this definitely shows how spectacularly this has disappointed, given how before the Netflix She-Ra reboot streamed, a lot of people worried that would also get that kind of reception, but thankfully that didn't happen, and that managed to grow into 5 entire seasons of compelling look at the original one, and a surprisingly touching finale. I won't be spoiling it here, which will give an idea about how impactful it is. But as for the corporate logistics behind that, it's hard for me to get too mad about that when, as confirmed by official sources, as a Toys and Minutes documentary on the same platform, the original version of 1985 was done because Mattel wanted a disc counterpart for He-Man, and as I've said just before, it's like a proto magical girl that she was basically that generation Star Butterfly or Sailor Moon, whatever you want to call her. But there's still one last thing to cover, especially now that it's at its end. Now, to conclusion, Mumma Plundar Parts 1 and 2, where the cats are using some of the characters they encountered before, even though, as I pointed before, the continuity is not really that well established here. To test the new security system within the cat's lair, right before Mumma gets a hold of sort of plunder of her from before. You know what really fascinates me? Seeing how much children's TV has grown and changed over the past 35 years, especially back in the previous incarnations. And I mean, how in my lifetime alone, shows like Avatar: The Last Airbender have proven that you can and still give younger viewers compelling stories with good artwork, her writing, and solid characterization, and how even on the same network, a lot of the ones that this one's often accused of taking from had like Adventure Time, Regular Show, OKKO, even the ones that are into like Steven Universe and Gumball have managed to give people so much in such a small 11-minute package every single time. Then you have something like this, with almost non-existent characterization, entirely banal writing, and downright terrible art direction. And I mean, if this was just a bad show on its own, that would be one thing. But the fact that the show fails so massively as being a new incarnation of the franchise is an indicator how ill-conceived it was. I mean, this show does not respect the legacy of the previous incarnations, despite what they claim. It outright mocks it with each episode. In fact, there's even one which shows like the tiger sharks and the silver hawks, which were sister series sets in the official universe, as applied to both previous versions, in a pit of sand, and which was not well received, to say the least. I mean, I'm not entirely sure if they even had a long-term plan at all. I mean, I also would like to emphasize that this was pushed back a year, so they had time to not only address the problems, but also refine them. And I really do not want to hear that a new version of a new existing anime property has to go this route in order to make it appeal to this generation. And there are multiple ways to not just say, hey, that your IP appeals to existing and new fans, but also to show as well. Example, the recent and alternate reality Pokemon films are among them. And in the case of the I Choose You movie, knowing full well that, especially after the ex-wife wants to perform, that could not just give people the same thing they normally get on TV but on a slightly higher budget, they decided to take the original images of the series and manage to work them into a new story which reimagines its origins and tells a new story in the same universe, which focuses on the relationship between them, and a much higher budget. It was a fantastic way of telling a story that was set in that same universe, and also managing to not let you forget that the characters are just 10-year-old kids dealing with issues that are quite heavy for their age. I mean, and with the Power Bus, Mutual Revolution, as well as the upcoming Pokemon Coco, it's definitely been a direction that has been well received and far more successful than previous films have been to date. Even the reboot of Digimon Adventure, much of mixed feelings towards it, has a potential to keep growing from there, especially with episode 5, which is going to be finally giving Izzy a more active role like I wanted to, instead of supposed to be Mr. Control like he was in previous episodes. So kudos, Toei. And the one arc of One Piece has been one of the most compelling things I've seen in a while, as has the most recent My Hero Academia. Before I start finishing this failed finale, I still submit if you want a series that has consistently good writing, characterization, and artwork, heck fellas, now would be a really good time to take up anime, especially. Yeah. Okay, so part two of this. Even though Lino has been acting like a dingus for the last 27 episodes, it's just this whole attempt of him acting down just doesn't work at all. Especially when how much care was put into previous incarnations and how there really is much here when, especially also how other versions of the products like TMNT, Transformers, and the new DuckTales have been able to do this quite well, in fact. And it's devastating how I couldn't pull off the same thing. So they break back into the base into the mecha, and again going back to Mao Mao. Rango Snake's armor is basically like Lozengon from my favorite anime Grand Logon. On Jaga, basically again tells he's not Lord of Swords, but Lord of Thundercats, which was actually much more interesting than they did Thor Ragnarok, to be honest, man. And long story short, they basically clobber Mumra, and that's basically the end. Thank goodness, man. Because, yikes. I cannot say for certain the future of the series, given how the show hasn't panned out. There are worse screens of the previous version, a 2.0 IMDb rating out of 10 as of this rating. So, get ready for a comedy that has no laughs, only snores. With action that's supposed to thrill, but it doesn't, it just bores. Too messy just to look away, too dull to sit and stare. Though some had hoped it still could work, the quality's not there. Dun 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 dun. Atrocity, atrocity, the show is an atrocity. The characters don't keep their shape, liquefy at high velocity. How big are they supposed to be? They don't know or don't care. And when you think it's not that bad, the quality's not there. So, yeah, this is bad. And it's like the whole mentality of someone I used to know, where they got into a habit of when they were younger, just like when they were touching the stove, they kept realizing like, oh, it's hot. I had to touch it again to make sure it is that way. No, you don't. Quit touching the stove. Yeah. So, in short, the series is not worth your time, and nice they can say about how it is that you're not obligated to watch it, man. And I really mean that. I decided to say that it's not a requirement. You don't have to watch this version if you don't want to, unless somehow you think things making too much sense to you. Just letting you know, fair warning. Well, that'll be all for now. I'll see you tomorrow for when Min Min goes live in Smash Brothers. Later.